Hello, everyone, watching China Crisis File. Today, I would like to discuss a serious paradox related to Chinese passports and the underlying crisis that stems from it. Ideally, a passport should symbolize a nation's pride, but for many Chinese citizens today, it has become a burden. Chinese travelers around the world face interrogation, detention, humiliation, and scrutiny. This is not due to their individual actions, but rather the shadow cast by the authoritarian regime reflected on the cover of their passports. On the other hand, when looking within China, an ironic reality emerges. Despite the Chinese Communist Party promoting visa waiver policies and claiming to seek international engagement, very few foreign visitors come to the country. International airports are eerily quiet. Global companies are withdrawing, and investors are opting for safer and freer destinations. Behind this reality lies an even more serious crisis: the growing international distrust toward Beijing's authoritarianism, extensive censorship, strict enforcement of national security, political intimidation, and aggressive diplomacy. Ultimately, the wolf warrior diplomacy has spectacularly backfired. While ordinary Chinese citizens pay the price for this overseas, China itself becomes increasingly isolated, misunderstood, and loses trust. The illusion of foreign glory is crumbling. Contrary to the propaganda that portrays the Chinese passport as a powerful document enabling access to 150 countries, many Chinese travelers confront harsh realities: humiliating interrogations at customs, prolonged inspections, and the painful realization that their passport invites suspicion rather than respect. Why is this situation happening? Countless individuals share their experiences online. A former Chinese citizen recounted that holding a Chinese passport always accompanies discrimination and humiliation. As a single woman from communist China, simply presenting that red passport led to suspicion wherever she went. When applying for a visa, authorities scrutinized her family background as if hunting for criminals. Many Chinese citizens express the mental anguish and loss of dignity associated with traveling with their passport. They feel that carrying it is not a matter of pride, but rather brings shame and makes them acutely aware of how unwelcome China is abroad. In contrast, a Taiwanese passport enjoys the privilege of visa-free access to over 140 countries, including the United States and other developed nations. Many Chinese openly acknowledge that their passport falls into one of the least user-friendly categories internationally. The challenges extend beyond visa acquisition. Even in countries that offer visa waivers, Chinese citizens frequently face difficulties. Recently, a Chinese woman was denied entry to Singapore despite her privileges. She reported being detained in the waiting area and losing over 10,000 yuan, about $1,400, to her family. Despite having previously traveled alone to dozens of European countries, she argued it was unreasonable to be denied entry on the grounds of lacking a legitimate visa, given that Singapore officially recognizes visa waivers for Chinese travelers. This issue is not an isolated case. At Singapore's Changi Airport, a 38-year-old Chinese man was stopped by authorities, nearly facing forced deportation, and, in defiance, spat at an immigration officer. He was subsequently sentenced to 8 weeks in prison for assaulting a public servant and disturbing public order. Similar incidents have occurred elsewhere. A Chinese traveler stranded between Thailand and Laos shared that he was denied entry despite the visa waiver privileges, and upon inquiring about the reason, was simply told, "They just didn't want to let me in." Many travelers also report harassment and business-related issues. One Chinese passenger recounted that an official at Cairo Airport in Egypt demanded a tip of $5 to $10 to grant entry, facing unjust delays if he refused. According to him, such treatment targeted only Chinese travelers, while individuals of other nationalities passed through without issues. The difficulties extend beyond borders. Obtaining or renewing a passport within China has also become increasingly cumbersome. One resident reported being denied renewal of their parents' passports, which remain valid until 2026. Authorities demanded proof of employment, visa documents, and formal certification from their son ahead of document review. Many elderly applicants and those with proper documents face similar refusals. Since July, travel restrictions have been further tightened. Reports have emerged of passengers attempting to travel to Armenia being prevented from exiting the country. Even government officials and workers from the financial sector face stringent exit controls. Banks have been ordered to collect and centrally manage employees' passports, prohibiting individual possession. The Communist Party has implemented this policy for the past 2 years to target key finance executives and highly skilled professionals who could access sensitive information, thus preventing capital outflow and data leaks. Since the beginning of 2024, an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 Chinese enter South Asia daily for business or tourism. In Laos alone, the number of incoming Chinese travelers surged by over 900% in the first half of 2024. Amid this, posts comparing U.S. and Chinese passports have circulated widely, reigniting discussions on the significance of passports. According to disseminated information, the U.S. passport states, "Wherever you are, the U.S. government is behind you." In contrast, the Chinese passport reads, "Please comply with local laws and respect local customs." Chinese state media denied the validity of this comparison, but many citizens affirm that it reflects a painful truth. Wu Fan, a lawyer in Shanghai, criticized the policy requiring public servants to submit their passports to employers, pointing out that it violates basic human rights. A passport is a travel document issued by the state, not by one's workplace. For employers to restrict citizens' right to exit the country is neither legal nor reasonable. In an authoritarian regime, holding a passport is treated as a privilege rather than a fundamental right. The difficulties faced by Chinese passport holders reveal international distrust in the Communist Party's governance. Although authorities have introduced visa waivers for several countries, international airports remain eerily quiet. Due to hostile policies and an unwelcome environment, foreign visitors do not feel inclined to come to China. This year, authorities unilaterally introduced visa waivers for Western countries and expanded the 144-hour transit visa waiver policy to include 54 countries, including the U.S., Canada, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. Nevertheless, the international airport in the capital remains chillingly quiet. Official data indicates that the number of travelers in and out of the country in 2024 is merely 64.9 million, a sharp decline from 97.7 million in 2019. This reality is reflected in many videos posted on TikTok. Vloggers filming in airports show sparse arrivals and very few departures. The financial reports of China's 3 major state-owned airlines for 2024 revealed losses for 5 consecutive years. China International Airlines reported a loss of approximately 2.3 billion yuan, China Southern Airlines 1.7 billion yuan, and China Eastern Airlines 4.2 billion yuan. Scholar and marketing director Di emphasized that China's future development hinges on expanding access, but noted that visa waivers alone are insufficient. True liberation requires reforms in various fields, including culture, media, the internet, finance, and education. Without these changes, foreign tourists and investors will likely gravitate toward other countries like India and Vietnam. Several factors contribute to the decrease in foreign tourists. Internet users have pointed out that after 3 years of strict zero COVID policies, many foreigners have fled. Furthermore, restrictions on internet access, the Great Firewall, difficulties accessing Google Maps, and the inconvenience of using WeChat Pay present significant barriers for foreigners. Strict entry requirements, such as mandatory fingerprinting, facial recognition, and housing registration with police within 24 hours, also deter travelers. Moreover, concerns surrounding the national security law have prompted many foreign investors to withdraw. Canadian-Chinese entrepreneur Q stated that expressing opinions in China may now echo as part of overseas hostile forces. He recounted the story of a friend interrogated after criticizing the Beijing Winter Olympics online. That friend expressed, "Please don't withdraw investment from the mainland. It will impact employment there. But simultaneously, I cannot advocate investing here." It's painful to see oneself crushed in an unfair business environment. This friend recently entered China through customs, noting its non-violent nature. He witnessed a long line of over 400 immigrants from Belt and Road countries with hardly any Westerners. Of the 12 customs counters, only 3 were open, leading to a waiting time of nearly an hour. In contrast, he described Taiwan's customs procedures as smooth and welcoming. However, in China, he was repeatedly interrogated and his passport meticulously scrutinized. This friend shared that 85% of his acquaintances never want to return to China, suggesting that the remaining 15% might consider it only to visit their 80-year-old grandmother. Conversely, there is a positive view toward Japan, with 90% expressing a desire to visit again, while only 10% had concerns about risks such as earthquakes. Moreover, Steve, a former resident of New York, mentioned that all foreign teachers he knew in China left due to safety concerns. Professor Shi from the University of South Carolina's Business School explained that the Chinese economy is undoubtedly experiencing a severe recession and may already be in decline. The financial market is stagnant, and banks are suffering from massive non-performing loans and mortgage defaults. International interest rates have reached record lows, and manufacturing is relocating overseas. Even promising sectors such as electric vehicles and solar panels face resistance from foreign markets. The market has entered a recession, and the Communist Party's adaptation toward foreigners is becoming more apparent. Requirements to establish investment departments within foreign enterprises further disappoint investors. Skepticism is growing regarding the likelihood of China reopening to the world. Q believes that if China truly achieves political and economic reform, it is not too late, but he does not anticipate a change in the Communist Party's policies. The primary reason for China's stagnation is political. And Q remarked, "Political liberation or reform is an area that they dare not even touch or contemplate." As long as high-handed political control persists, cultural liberation will be impossible. China's isolation and the degradation of the value of its passport represent not just diplomatic issues, but a crisis of the regime itself. Thank you for watching China Crisis File today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We will meet again in the next video.